just a promise to pay. We just give it value because that allows us to get on with our day-to-day lives. If it came from somewhere like the Scottish Government, it has a bit more credence from it, if you know what I mean. If, like, say Angus Council decided, I don't know, or Fife Council, I think this is Fife Council, yeah? Stirling City Council, I don't know. If they did that, like, they would have credence behind it. So it could be working with local councils to do that, but it depends if they're pro yes or pro no, ultimately.
Joe Turner here from the Ayrshire Independence Movement. Would you expect the Scottish currency to be a full reserve currency or fractional reserve with the bankers creating the currency, or would you prefer the Scottish Government to be in control of the money creation?
We also had Craig DL through the Commonweal in Angus, and I asked him that exact question, whether we should have it controlled by an independent central bank or a government-controlled central bank. That's a question, yeah? He ultimately said it really just depends. It's kind of trial and error, because in some countries a central bank independence works. You can argue that it works in the UK, but I think we'll all disagree with that. But in other countries, I'm not sure where, it's controlled by the government. I think Switzerland, I'm not sure. They seem to be a good example for everything. So it just really depends on how it turns out.
Can we take one more question, please, on this issue?
Hi, Jim Stamper from Rutherglen, Cambuslang. I just wanted to check. I'm no expert on the economy. I had attended Andy Anderson's talk on the currency. The type of currency you're talking about, would it no longer be a fiat currency? So it's not a fractional, the way this small proportion is?
Yes, so the currency we're talking about is a fiat currency. Fiat is Latin for it shall be. The value of that currency is based on the economy and how we grow it. Can I just give you a quick fact? Does anyone know the national debt for Japan at all? It's 1 quadrillion yen. That is a trillion with 3 extra zeros. Now, what is good about having a fiat currency system is that by creating money by decree, we can essentially put it straight into the banking system, straight into the private economy, and then tax it back at a later date, which means that it's essentially our own debt. So if we decide to make it a 10-year bond, for example, to invest back into the economy or to invest back into the government, we can pay that. It's our own currency. We're the monopoly supplier. We can technically never go bankrupt. And once we explain this to ordinary voters, once ordinary voters realize, yes, there is a magic money tree, we flip it upside down and we realize the potential we have. We have to escape the neoliberal paradigm we are in right now. And if we convince voters that there's so much potential with the system, with our own currency, it will really inspire to put behind different ideas of how we can use it.
Okay, I can see those more hands coming up that wanted to ask a question, and that is why the platform of having forums to continue, you can't answer all these questions in one day. We can't do that. That's why we built the platform, in order so that we can get to the point where we can answer these questions sufficiently for people. Okay, so next up, number 9.
I'm number 9 now, apparently. Peter A. Bell. Big bad blogger, Facebook famous, columnist for iScot magazine. Yeah, you've got my bank details, Ken. Can I use this mic? Yeah, right, okay. I'm here to talk about reframing the argument. There was, is it the space bar? Yeah, what is framing? That was actually explained earlier on, so I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about that. Framing is a trigger to a concept or an idea. It's like a preconditioned context into which the concept or idea is placed. Like and we can turn that around. We can reframe things like when they say Westminster is sovereign, we reframe that as sovereignty is vested in the people of Scotland. So one of the questions we can ask is what we can learn from the No campaign. because they ran a successful campaign, as we know to our cost. We can look at what they did. They were always on message because they had nowhere else to go. They ran a very integrated media campaign, and they relentlessly chased focus groups, and they played on fear. So what we will do is emulate what they did and do it in much the same way. So we reframe things. We reframe things like too wee, too poor, too stupid. We're all familiar with that. That's a relentless message from the unionists. It's a constant background hum from the UK establishment. It may not be said outright, but it is always implied. So we want to reframe that. We want to reframe that concept, if not the actual words. So how do we go about reframing that? We reframe that as big enough, smart enough, rich enough. Scotland is a proud nation with a huge future, renewables, development of technology, healthcare, best in the UK, and we have compassion. We can inject these ideas of compassion as against the British state's framing of everything in terms of austerity. We can counter that. We can reframe with compassion. For example, here's an example. When they say what currency, their frame is ownership. The pound is theirs. It's about entitlement and permission. They feel entitled to the pound. We have to ask permission. It's about confusion, because there are many possible different answers to that. And just by trying to answer it, it puts us on the back foot. It draws us into that frame of confusion. We reframe that as, is Scotland competent to manage its own currency? It's about competence. Are we smart enough? Of course we are. It's about infrastructure. Can we build the institutions? Of course we can. It's about confidence. Do we have the faith in our own capacities? Of course we do. So that is the currency question reframed, and I never want to hear it mentioned again. That's the wrong. Should Scotland be an independent country? That was the question in the first referendum. How do we reframe that? We have to reframe that because it implies that Scotland is not a nation like other nations. It implies that independence is in the gift of the British state. It implies that we have to ask for something which is actually ours by right. We have to ask for it. It is theirs. It's like the currency. Independence belongs to them, and we have to ask for it. Instead, we ask the question, should the union be dissolved? It must be the union that is in question. It must be the union that has to be justified. We reframe things because independence is normal. I actually think I'm finished there. I'm not quite sure how the slides went, but I think I'm finished there. So if I've got more time, I'm happy to take any number of questions. Any number. There's a video on YouTube somewhere of me talking in Orkney for 2.5 hours, so I hope you brought a big piece. 5 minutes. Oh, 5 minutes, eh? Oh. Sir. Oh, somebody got a mic?
Yeah, just coming.
Patience. If you don't mind standing up.
A wee step on, Andrew. A wee step on, son.
There was an interesting reframing upstairs, actually, which was to do with debt. And the fact that it's not actually debt, it's equity. And I think we've been bamboozled with this household equivalent for a national economy, which, to put it crudely, is bollocks. You know, it is complete nonsense. We are not a household. And what we actually have is, we should frame it, I think, as Scotland as an enterprise. Scotland with a national equity, not a national debt, and the right that citizens should have of a national dividend from national resources. Okay? That completely reframes the debate, the austerity debate, which we've been, beaten around with the head with this myth of debt. Because technically, as an accountant myself, it's not debt.
Yeah. One of the things that we have to be cautious of with... One of the things that we have to be cautious of with reframing is the terminology that we use. Now, when you start talking about debt, as you say, it can be referred to as equity. Some of the things, though, it's very difficult to talk about them without using their terminology, if I can put it that way. So that is a problem. That is something to be thinking about. But one other thing that you can be thinking about is when questions are asked about debt, about pensions, about currency, whatever. First of all, ask yourself if that is actually the relevant question. Or is that a question that is designed to frame everybody's thinking around the issue? Like with the currency example, is that the pertinent question? Of course, it can't be the pertinent question because it doesn't go to the core of the matter. So think about the questions that go to the core of the matter. The core of the matter on currency is competence. The core of the matter on independence is that independence is normal. That is the way we should be. It is the union that is anomalous. That's the union that has to go. Somebody else already have a mic? Hi, David.
Hello. Talking about reframing, one of the big weapons that was used the last time was the price of oil. And the question is, it's not the price of oil on the open market that's actually important, because it makes no difference whether it's $50 or $100 or $130, it doesn't matter. What is the percentage of tax collected by the UK government on North Sea? It's zero.
Yeah.
We should be asking the question, in an independent Scotland, what percentage of tax would a Scottish government in the future be charging on North Sea oil?
Yep. That brings in another aspect of framing, which is false equivalence and false comparisons. And I know time's limited here, so we can't talk much about that, but just think about it. False equivalence and false comparisons. I'll bet every one of you can come up with several examples of that. And another thing that's worth thinking about is reframing things in a light-hearted way, in a humorous way. I mean, one of the things about the whole price of oil thing was reframing that as, oh look, the unionists have just discovered that the price of oil is volatile. Who knew? You can reframe things in that way, take some of the sting out of it. There are different ways of reframing. It's not just about asking different questions. It's just about putting the thing into a different context. And a humorous context is just as valid. Oh, hang on a minute. Oh.
Okay. Peter, you very kindly wrote an article in this wonderful magazine I got some months ago about the predicted date of a referendum. Do you have anything to add? Or
add to
yes.
that article?
Well, they're going to have to buy it to read it, but I'd rather you came out with it.
I don't know. I never read it. I don't know what it said. That's actually true. That has actually happened to me. I've come across an article online that somebody's linked to, and I'm reading it, and I'm thinking, oh, this is, let's thought, hang on a minute. I wrote that. It also happens pretty much every time I hear Michael Russell speak. He keeps lifting stuff from my blogs. I swear he does. Good on the man. Yeah, good on the man. No, the date of the referendum, I have nothing to add other than Thursday, the 20th of September, 2018.
One more.
Oh, God, that was my big finish.
Never
No, I've got to
away
think of
from me.
another one.
The whole reframing thing, I think, is absolutely brilliant, and it's a great thing. But what my worry is, with all these keyboard warriors and everything, how do we get it across to them to start thinking that way as well? Because we do get independent supporters actually going out there and they're actually installing all these words.
Oh, despair. I know exactly what you mean. So earlier on, somebody asked me, she said, well, what is it things that that unionists say that make you really mad, that really get you annoyed? And I was supposed to be thinking just one thing that unionists say that really irks me. And I was actually struggling, because all the things that kept popping into my head were things that yesers say on Facebook and Twitter, and I'm going, oh no. Yeah, I don't bother myself too much about it. All this nonsense about cyber nattery and online abuse, that is a weapon against us. That's another thing that has to be reframed. I reframe that as the right of everybody to speak out, regardless of their ability to frame arguments or express themselves, regardless of how eloquent and erudite they are. Everybody is entitled to a voice. And if all they can say is, Theresa May, then let them say it. I would rather have them participating, even if it's only to the extent of cursing at Theresa May. I would rather have them participating, being involved, being engaged in some way, rather than sitting watching daytime TV or some toxic pastime like that. That's a framing. That's a reframing thing too.
Last question, no, just one more.
Hi, I'm Lillian. Thanks, Peter.
Hi, Lillian.
I think that one of the biggest reframings we need is not seeing Scotland as poor at all. We actually are the country that's called the place where people expect to get wet. It seems to me we have the most valuable commodity on the planet in abundance. Water everywhere. And all the native peoples all around the world are screaming about Monsanto stealing their water and selling it for hundreds of pounds. And we live in the land that could actually help. We could give it away. We're so rich in it. And I think that's really important.
Is that it? Oh, yeah, right. One of the problems, sometimes even by trying to answer a question or respond to a point, you validate it. So sometimes you're better just to ignore it. What other countries have to be constantly justifying themselves? What other countries had to pass an exam to get the independence that they're entitled to? What other country would anybody dare turn round to them and say, you don't have a right of self-determination, you're not getting another referendum because we say now is not the time, we say no? What other country would put up with that? This is all part of acting like we're already an independent nation. We simply don't accept their narrative. We create our own narrative. And that gets us into the subject of media, and I'm not allowed. So, thanks, everybody.
Thank you. So, you can join that group on the app on number 9. Search for number 9 under name. And lastly is our last presentation for today. Before we wrap up, and it's 21, the national event. Okay, thank you. Okay, got your slide up.
Thanks. Lovely. Okay. I decided not to use slides this time because they kind of threw me last time with the whole time loop thing. That was unfortunate. But we decided as a group that we wanted to use this image to explain why that was. This is the image that I saw. I saw it on Twitter, and I can't remember how long before the referendum it was, but it wasn't long. And that image there was the one that made me, as a kind of slightly anomalous yes voter in a fairly middle-class neighbourhood, just go, oh my God, this actually could happen. This could happen. Look at the size of this. Look at the people. Look at everybody out there doing this. This could actually happen. And, well, obviously, you know, I was destined to be horribly disappointed with that. But it was about scale. It showed us the scale of what we had achieved in, 2 years of a campaign? And I think that's what we want to try to achieve with a Big Bang event to mark the day that a new referendum is announced. So Group 21, we met up the stairs and we talked about how we could maybe make that happen and come up with a few more ideas about what could be done. And we decided that we would need a two-pronged project plan. We'd need to have some things arranged before the day, and we would need to have a plan for the day itself. The more sophisticated and complicated plans would be used for the preparation for the event. Kind of, you know, set up local groups with whatever they were going to do to create this visual impact of, yes, ownership of the campaign, and get them to rehearse it, and we could film it and use all those, collate all those filmed pieces to create a really powerful, positive video to be released on the day that the referendum's actually announced. But obviously one of the challenges that we've got in arranging something of this scale is the notice. You know, we don't know how much notice we're going to have of a new referendum announcement. So on the day that the button gets pressed, we're going to have to keep plans really, really simple. We're going to have to be, it's going to have to pretty much be get your flag and go. And it's going to have to be that simple because, you know, we can't arrange a big march on the back of like an afternoon's notice, or maybe we get 3 days notice if we get somebody on the inside who'll tell us, okay, this is going to happen on Friday, you know, be ready, be ready. So yeah, there's a lot to do, and you know, the group, we're going to reconvene on IndyApp, and our next steps will be to come up with lots of different ideas. We're going to brainstorm, we're just going to do a brain dump into the app. What could we do? What could we do? Get as many groups from the local areas as possible to come in and tell us what they think would have impact in their own area, because you're not going to be able to translate the plan for Edinburgh City Centre into, you know, perhaps Caithness, where it's a completely different culture and people are going to respond to different things. So what we thought we'd do was make contact with the individual groups and create a brief to be disseminated through the groups. This is what we want to achieve. This is roughly what we think we want to do. These are the themes that we would like you to use. And, you know, for the sake of simplicity, we thought about the themes and, you know, this will be subject to further discussion. But at the moment, we're thinking the saltire, obviously, the Yes logo, because we are going to claim that as ours. You know, we're not going to let people tell us what to call our campaign. Yes is a positive word. It's got a great history within the Yes movement. We're just going to claim it as ours and say, right, this is us. This is who we are. Let's get on with it. And I think we talked a little bit about, you know, how much to organise up front and how many permits to apply for and everything. And the general consensus around the groups was that it would probably be more sensible to ask for forgiveness, not permission, for all this. And just when talking to the local groups about what to do, and as I said, the local groups will know best what is going to be the most impactful in their area, but we are looking for scale. We're looking for scale. We're looking for this to be big and impressive and joyful. Had a point, can't remember what it was. Sorry about that. Never mind. Move on. Yeah, what we want to achieve is for, well, we've got 2 groups that we're communicating to with a Big Bang event like this. I'm going to use some reframing here because I'm seriously impressed with what the reframing guys are talking about. I'm going to stop talking about no voters. I'm going to start talking about people who still support the union. Because, you know, that kind of implies a little bit of, you know, oh, you still use Windows XP. Nice, good for you. So for me, we've got people who are pro-independence and people who still support the union. But yeah, we want to communicate with both of these groups. And for the people who still support the union, we want them, on the day that the button gets pressed, to just go, oh my God, these guys are organised already, because you can bet that there is nowhere else in Scotland at this time that's got this many people who still support the union coming together to discuss how they will respond the day that a second referendum is announced. So that is a strength for us. That is something that we can use and take and move forward with, so that the moment the referendum is announced, we can have people who still support the union saying, oh my God, these guys are on it. They are on it already. That's impressive. And we can have people who are pro-independence feeling the way I felt when I first saw that photograph and thinking, do you know what? This time, you know, we've claimed this campaign. This is our campaign from day one. They said it was on, and we were like, we are on it. And this time, we're going to nail it.
Does anybody get any statements? Yeah, or comments? Thank you.
Hiya, I've got a question for you. Hiya, I'm over here. So I think this is brilliant, and I think there's probably a lot of really effective things that you can do on a multiple scale as opposed to a massive scale, which might be easier to organise. But one thing I would love to see you engage with is our kind of comrades, if you like, in Catalonia, who I'm quite sure would absolutely be on side. I know they've got their own political fight going on, but I'm quite sure we would see some support from them as well.
Yeah, I completely agree, and we did discuss that in the group, is that Catalonia, they have form for being able to organise the most impressive demonstrations, apparently like that. So I definitely think that if there are people here with a line into that movement who can log in through the app and say, hey, guys, I know people who can share information from Catalonia, I would really urge you to do that so that we can learn from people who are on it already.
Yeah, fantastic. Love your enthusiasm. Can I suggest we do our utmost? It started at hands off our Parliament. We got 5,000, or some say 3,500, I'd say 5,000. Then we got 90,000 in Glasgow. Can I suggest this summer we have Dumfries next week? We have Bannockburn on the 23rd. Now, I believe Bannockburn should be the biggest event every year, every single year, for the independence movement. So I'm calling on the independence movement to garner their strength and be in Bannockburn on the 23rd. We've also got Inverness on the 28th of July. Any event that's coming up, let us show the government, they have the support required to call the date. Use the mandate.
Good afternoon. Phil Greenhorn from Brechin. As you can see, I can...
Glasgow City Council tried to remove the steps that they all stood on.
Mm.
Just to remind you all.
Yeah.
Try again. Good afternoon. Phil Greenhorn from Brechin. As you can see, I've come prepared. Now, this is a wonderful, wonderful feeling to be in a city, a yes city, whether it's yes Dundee or whether it's yes Glasgow. But those numbers would be very difficult on that day to achieve in Brechin or Montrose or others. But what we can achieve a considerable, it was used many years ago and not so much these days, is a cavalcade that can go from village to village to village on that day with music, with PA equipment, and with these, you know, this is the most powerful image that we have. Flags, thousands and thousands of flags. This is a saltire for a window. It's not a poster, it's the Scottish flag. If every home in Scotland on that day should start receiving window posters when we go around. The children with flags. That's as much as I have to say. But this large 50, 100,000 people, it's the most invigorating feeling to be among that. And it charges your batteries up and makes you ready to go again.
If I can just respond on that point, I completely agree, and we did talk about the logistics of getting a large number of people into one place at very short notice, and that's what we would hope to mitigate a little bit by holding the kind of rehearsal events up front, so that we can be showing the video of the scale and the rehearsal on the day to kind of to show that, so we can be sharing that on social media. We can, you know, we can look into if there's any way at all that we can get it onto telly. So that we can show the scale of what's going on, as well as having what's out there on the streets as well. I think one of the stories that I shared with my group was that on the day that the referendum was announced, oh gosh, when was it, last year, when it became obvious that Brexit was just going to be a complete railroad over Scotland and what our needs are. And when the referendum was announced, I was driving back from a weekend away in Argyll. And it came on the radio whilst I was driving. And what struck me was the responses of the people that I was driving home with in the car, and how it would have felt to be driving that car along the motorway, hearing that announcement, and seeing suddenly the bridges just filled up with Saltire flags and yes supporters. That would have felt really powerful. And I think that's the kind of thing that we can realistically aim for. You know, I mean, it might not be possible for everybody to you know, hear an announcement on the radio or see it on the telly, grab their flag and get to Edinburgh, Glasgow, Inverness, Dundee, or a big city, but it may well be possible for them to get to somewhere really visible to their local community. And that's what the individual groups are going to know best, where that sweet spot would be. But I completely agree. I think we want to go for as large scale as possible and show people the large scale, which is why we thought running a video alongside of big events would be helpful.
Hi. I'm just wanting to support what Elaine was saying. I was facilitating at the table, and one of the things we did discuss is the fact that when that button gets pressed, so to speak, when Nicola said this is the date, you have to be able to get up and do something quickly, and that's exactly what Elaine's saying. If everybody's got a flag, maybe a torch, get to a local point, so the local groups will all have to understand where's prominent for themselves, and then it's just a matter of, oh my God, there's the announcement, grab the flag, grab the torch, let's get over to the Cathkin Braes or wherever it may be, get our flags up, get the car cavalcade. It could be individual cars, but you imagine you're driving down the road and say, I've seen 17 cars today, all sporting a flag. Oh no, there's another 20. It would be amazing, and then it doesn't need to end there. There might be a point at night where everybody shines their torches in the air, 9 o'clock, just to make it prominent and make it visible to everybody. Sorry, does that help?
Yeah. The lady down here as well.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm not a member of any Yes group yet, but I'm from Perth. I'm called Sonia. And I want to speak as one of the people that don't actually get out the house very much, but want to take part. Mm-hmm. Years ago, when my husband was in the army, when we were in Berlin, we had something called a tree, a phone tree, so that if anything happened, there'd be 5 people at the top who phoned 5 people, who then phoned 5 people. Within 5 minutes, the whole battalion could be aware if anything had happened. Social media's come on, so you're talking about within a minute, we could have over 100 groups well notified. You could pick certain areas around Scotland that are going to be prominent, and you could use people like myself that aren't really able to get out. And being truthful, I've been shitting myself all day here because I've been housebound for years, but I really wanted to attend. And my friend wasn't here. Thankfully, Alison Defy was here, and I know her well, so she came out and rescued me. But I'd love to be able to do things, because one day to next, I never know how I could be. But to be part of that phone tree, because there's so many of us out here. Like, I was in the group for benefits earlier on. A lot of folk don't realise 1 in 5 people is disabled in Scotland. And a lot of us want to help and everything else, but like what Scotland being told, you're too wee, you're too poor, you're too stupid. We're told we're worthless, we're scroungers, we're benefit frauds. This, that, next thing. Being able to take part like this would not only be a boost to them, but they could be a positive aspect for the whole the movement, and be able to be that wee backbone to get all the messages out there. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll just get two wee things. We did some of these kind of straw polling things, and I'll just feed you back the results. So, what should the Scottish currency be in an independent Scotland? Pin to the pound, new Scottish pound, or the euro? And it's a clear winner with the new Scottish pound. Okay. In an independent Scotland, do you want a monarchy, a republic, or other? And it's a clear winner with the republic.
Sorry, Harry. Sorry, Megan.
And finally, in an independent Scotland, what do you prefer? In the EU, out of the EU, or a new EU relationship? I think it's a bit split there, to be honest. So we've got a split there for a new relationship or in the EU. So that's us come to the end of today. We've got one wee thing to show you to kind of wrap things up, because it's been a great day. Me and Jason want to thank everybody for coming. The last thing I want to say is that we have a group 22. Now there's 21 tables here, right? But we've created a group 22, and it's called A Future Gathering, okay? If you want to be involved in helping us organise a future gathering, then search for that group under the name and contact it, and we'll add you into the committee to help organise it. So, finally, I don't know if you know this is coming, but James, we're going to play a film from this computer. Okay. Sorry, Colin, did you want this one?
Please. Just before we stop, can we say a thank you from all of us to Edward and to the rest of them? Jason, take your bow, Jason.
Jason's at the back.
Jason, come on up the front, son.
Thank you.
Because they made it happen today. They absolutely did.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Okay, here we go.
Basically come along to see if there was any new ideas on the go about promoting independence, and see if we could take anything back to our yes groups in Glasgow that we could use. I think the key issue is that we try now to show a positive approach to independence, to try and convince those that either voted no or were undecided in the last referendum to switch to the yes side, by showing them that Scotland can be a totally positive, encouraging, outward-looking country after we gain our independence. I think there's been a lot of ideas on the social side of things to show that it is not just the SNP government that is promoting independence. It's actually yes groups from across the board that are trying to show that it's inclusive. And that's the way forward.
I'm Ivan McKee, MSP for Glasgow Province, and I'm delighted to be talking to you today from Stirling, where I've come along to see what's happening at the gathering. It's a fabulous event. There must be 200 people here, but organised by the National Yes Registry, who are doing a great job connecting up local yes groups up and down the country. And what I've seen today is real grassroots, people coming along that hadn't met each other before, sitting at tables in small groups talking about all the dozens of different issues that are really important for the Yes campaign and how we're going to go forward and win the next independence referendum, and then bringing those ideas back, getting up and presenting in front of the whole group what they're going to do. Those ideas now getting taken forward and groups getting organised, people connecting with each other to make sure that we can do what we need to do from the grassroots up to make sure we win the next independence for a referendum for Scottish independence.
Loads of ideas where we could use to make at least our broadcasting in Scotland a lot better as a group. And as myself, I think we talked about adding a more democratic element to Scottish broadcasting, because bias will continue to exist. It just depends whose bias it is, whether it's the consumers or those who produce.
I think it's really important. Not only are we shaping the methodologies and the ideals that we're trying to shape the policy after, we're also shaping our own skills in collaboration, and that's the most important part of what we're doing here as Grassroots, learning to collaborate constructively instead of sinking into a mire of non-constructive debate. I think what's really important is to pool resources and distribute them correctly. One of the really interesting talks today was about finding funding for the grassroots and potentially setting up a grassroots bank. I think that's a really smart idea, because projects don't need much money to be taken above and beyond what they could be without. They just need to have smart investment and the right resources to access. Independence means to me the ability to stay in the home where I am. It also means progressive politics, and an example that we can set not only to the UK but also in Europe and to the world. We have so much to give, and Independence for Scotland would set us on a path that leads us to the side of the people that we want to walk alongside of, the small, strong, independent nations that we look to.
I think Independence for Scotland would be a beacon of hope for the people of England, who for many years have sort of depended on Scotland to just vote Labour to help stop the Tories. And if you're in the left in England, you might still think that, but in reality Scotland never affected that. It's up to England to vote for better politicians, and I think having an independent Scotland prospering just over the border will really drive that yes sort of optimism that we see here in Scotland. In England, I think they'll vote for more progressive politics, and I think they'll make a better world for everybody.
Well done. Well done. So that's us. Thank you very much. Would have expected a few more ladies to have said a few things there. You know, maybe Al didn't ask you, or you know, but it's good to get the balance. So one of the things that somebody mentioned was we can release this video just now, but if there's people here that want to write a press release, if they want to get together, a few people want to get together and write a press release, a kind of statement of intent or a statement about what's happened today, what we've achieved, what we're planning to do, then I would ask you to get together in the bar and talk about it, okay? And if actually know what to do is, if you're interested in that, when people break up, if they come in and if they want to get involved, we're putting together a press release about today. If they come to table 10 as people exit, and just to have a quick discussion about that, that would be great. So just the last thing to tell you is that the bars are open now, okay? I know people are travelling all over the place, but you can stay and have a wee shandy or something before you go. So thanks very much. See you next time.
Okay, right, a little test there. Right, okay, so I'm here with Laura
Marshall.
Laura Marshall. Where are you from, Laura?
Originally from Glasgow, Loch Lomond, Tarbet, moved up north to Glenlivet, so was educated, grew up in the Highlands and Murray. But in my 20s, early 20s, after Glasgow Uni, I left Scotland like most of our generation did when we qualified, because there was 80% unemployment in the Glasgow area. The Thatcher years, we all protested at uni, we marched in the street against the poll tax, etc. One guy got a job in Scotland with a first-class degree. People were leaving to first-class maths degree, leaving to teach English in Kaliningrad. So when any MP talks about Thatcher, austerity, we as a generation lived that. I'm the same age as Nicola Sturgeon. We were at university together. We lived, we walked that, and we swore we won't let another generation go through that.
And the younger generation just do not know how bad it was during
it was
Thatcher's time.
80% of Glasgow was boarded up at one time. All the shops, our grandparents, our parents lost their work and business. We went to work elsewhere to support family and siblings and people around the country. But that's a slight negativity. We're not going there as a nation. I've come back for this absolutely wonderful event.
Where do you come from?
Yeah, yesterday, the day before, it's been fluid. I came from Russia because I was out there both for leisure and work and interviewing Donbass refugees who are in Ivanovo, which is about 300 miles east of Moscow. So it was a car journey to Moscow, which was scary. It was wild.
Refugees, you said?
The Ukrainian Donbass. Donbass is the east part of Ukraine that had a referendum in the March of 2014. We had our referendum, and as Crimea went, Donbass is now a war zone, and the people who are in Russia as refugees, economic refugees and war refugees, their houses are bombed. They will not be going back to Ukraine. It's now gone into a war zone. They are very interested in our referendum and how we manage it, the same way Catalonia are. So I was picking up their voices in recordings, a bit like we're doing here. But I wouldn't have missed this event for the world. So Moscow to Brussels, Brussels to Edinburgh, Edinburgh up to Stirling.
Some journey.
On peu dire, we can say.
How did you find out about this? How did you?
Through you guys.
Oh, right.
I follow all of you. It's the first time I meet you.
Kevin, good to see you again.
Good to see you,
Hi and goodbye.
Okay.
You as well, the ideas at the table.
Sorry?
You as well, ideas brilliant
Yes.
at the second workshop.
The first workshop was better because it was just like flashing ideas.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that was
but
good.
real ideas coming together, consolidated.
Yes, we'll make it happen.
The talent round
We're
the
live streaming at the
tables.
moment.
Are we really?
Oh, but that's super.
No, it's okay, man. It's all right. I'll talk to you again soon.
That's okay. You're all part of the process, live or not.
I've only got
live.
this tiny little
I know.
lavier mic.
No, the event today, I follow all of you, but it's the first time meeting you en vive voix, in real life and voice. I know your thoughts and your words, and probably some of you know mine, but it's the first time actually meeting people. That's amazing. That's an amazing movement. It's like we're water drops of change rippling out across Scotland and the world. Many of you know I write poetically because I write books.
Take care. See you,
Lovely
Dumfries.
to meet you as well.
Actually,
Everyone's moving.
give me a second. Actually, that's a good point. Big Dumfries rally on the 2nd of June.
I'll be there with my hoop shield.
Are you coming?
And my Imagine, because it goes everywhere.
I don't know what happened to my graphic. It's gone. I did have a graphic. Where there? There you go. I'll put this on.
Everybody...
You can still hear us.
Everybody that is here today in Stirling, everyone that marched for All Under One Banner Glasgow, everyone that was at Hoop, which was amazing again, please come down to Dumfries and Galloway. We're going to send fluffy Mr. Non-Entity for State for Scotland a little message in his home constituency. Nicely. I hope he's present. I hope he comes out and speaks and engages with his constituents and voters. So please come along and join us. Also, while I'm here, having come across from Russia for this amazing event, I'd like to say to everyone, please, I will be making a donation. We're going to discuss it.
Thank you very much.
Because we need to keep fantastic media, both Kevin and the
Scott.
There's also
Phantom
this one I'm going to
Colours,
spoken today.
Bella,
We
Colin
need to keep
Wings.
the National we talked about
National.
today. All of the media that we've made over the last few years needs to be kept. It's actually a higher calibre and quality and thought process than most of the mainstream media. I do lots of war action, as you know. I campaign for Yemen, I campaign for the Ukraine Donbass, for Syria, for 9 wars at the moment. And Yemen, the media was silent for 3 years. Silent, not one word on the Yemen situation, which has allowed 18 million to go into a genocide. A genocide in 2011. The only truth is coming through the smaller media. Let's get this funding up to 100% by, I think it's 5 days, is it?
I think it's 4. 3 o'clock,
Countdown.
8 o'clock
Countdown.
tonight. Switches to
Nice to. I'll
3 days.
come and speak in a moment if you just wait. No, the talent of the people here today is just such a mixture. It's like Scotland. It's a microcosm of just how talented, rich, intelligent, kind-hearted, altruistic, humanitarian values, sharing Scotland is. Because we don't only want this wealth for a fund for us, we want to improve the situation for everyone. And it's time we actually flew. Let's use Imagine. Imagine is peace. Imagine is, it starts here in the mind. And this referendum, this independence is already won if we want it.
Okay, thank you so much.
No, thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you. Thank you so much.
Been out the country so long, it's like here when I come back. I'll start weeping, so I'm going off now. Bye-bye, everyone.
Just watch the cables, you don't fall over all the cables.
Anyway, thank you very much.
No problem, I'll come and talk to you later.
I'll come and talk to you later if you...
Right, folks, Laura there, that was brilliant to talk to Laura. There's another couple of Indie Live people helping out with the live streams here. We've got Fiona over there, hiding over there, packing away the stuff. We've got Geordie, goodness knows where he's disappeared to.
The team is fantastic.
A few members of the team here.
And they've been up since what, 5? I saw your first tweet in the morning.
Was it 5 in the morning?
Getting picked up. It was amazing.
It was early doors this morning, and we're going to be last out here, I think, again, as always. So, folks, we've got a crowdfunder going on. You can find it via our website, independencelive.net. Last time I looked, I think we were at 59%. I'll talk to you later, Laura.
Thank you.
Okay, bye now. Righty, Eddie, do you want a quick chat? I'm live streaming just now, just to tell me what your thoughts are on the event that we had. Are you totally whacked like me?
I've been on stage all day.
Jason actually drove me up from Glasgow, and we used Google Maps, and that turned into a fiasco because it took us straight off the motorway. We took all the back roads. I was in fear for my life, but we got here.
It's that thing where if you rely on the app all the time, on the map, on the machine, it can take you away. And if you just used your brain, you should have just headed up the M90.
I don't drive, I was just reliant on Google Maps. But tell me about today's event. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, it's been a big success, a big relief, obviously, for myself and Jason to have completed it and done it. But the thing that impressed me most was just how many people if you allow people to actually speak their minds, how intelligent a nation we are and how capable a nation we are, right through it. I mean, I think politicians think, you know, once they're elected, they think we're all stupid or something, you know. That's the impression I get. But we're not. We're extremely intelligent. Right across, we heard the presentations from people really insightful into how to take these topics forward, and I thought it was very successful. I think a lot of people thought they didn't know what they were coming into as well.
Yeah.
You know, they had no idea. And I suppose it's the first time it's been done on this scale anyway. I know these types of events have been tried and they are done, but for the Yes Movement, for the Grassroots, it's definitely the first time that we've done it on this scale, and I think a lot of people enjoyed it.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of pressure, like in you and Jason, to get this done. I mean, I take my hat off to you if I had one.
Thank you.
But do you see yourself doing more of these, or are you hoping that the groups pick up? And
well, that's the intent, really. Jason and myself are kind of building this thing to spread the load, and it's to spread the load even in the local groups. It's to support the local groups. Because often in a local group, it is one person or two people that are kind of responsible for doing things. But if you look at the hub that we showed people today, the group hub, you've got a forum there, you've got committees there, and you've got resources. So if you go into the committees of a local group, if you join a group and get into local committees, and the local committee is run by Bob and Janet, you know, and you go into my committees and you've not got any committees that you're involved in, then you know that, well, maybe there's something I could be lending a hand with you, maybe there's something I should be doing, and it makes it transparent. So to answer your question, what we've done today is we've set up Group 22 on the IndyApp, where people who want to get involved with organising another gathering can help share the burden, and it's not just me and Jason, or Jason and me, Jason and me.
But that's the philosophy of it, isn't it? You don't want to run all this. You want to get people motivated to do it themselves. It's the whole point, isn't it?
Absolutely, and people want to do it.
Yeah.
If you provide people with a set of tools, and they've not had tools like that before, then I tell you, people are happy to pick those tools up and use them, because they can be more effective with them, and they can create something and get more traction with it. And that's all we've been doing, is building this tool for people to use.
And IndyApp 2 is out via your website. You can go and...
IndyApp 2 isn't yet.
Right.
It isn't yet. We kind of did a pre-launch today. We showed people what it looked like and how the hub works. There's webinars on our website, nationalyesregistry.scot, under demo films. There's some webinars there that are showing... Are they? I'm just trying to remember if I put one up yet.
Oh, it will be up soon.
It will be up soon. So showing people how it works.
Right, okay.
But it will be available for PC, for Apple Mac, very shortly. People will be able to download it.
So just to follow you on Twitter, that's the best.
Follow Twitter. Jason uses Twitter. Or we don't really push out a lot of stuff, to be honest. We create it, and if people what people should do is download the app.
That's National Yes Registry.scot.
Yeah, they can get it on Google Play, and then get it for the iPhone as well at the moment. And just download it, register, and then log in.
That's version 1.2. It's not
1.3, I think.
1.3
it's on Android anyway.
Okay,
1.2
so
on
still
Apple.
waiting for the new version to come out.
Yep.
Right. So
and that will have the forums on it,
2.
and that's coming very shortly.
Yeah.
You know? So if people download it, register, search for a local group, and contact a local group. And if you're not getting a response from editors, because we're not central in this, we're a decentralised platform, so the groups themselves are responsible for picking up the incoming contacts for them. And some groups, I have to say, have registered on the app but aren't even doing that, and that's something that we need local groups who are doing it to kind of help those groups to get a bit more G'd up with it, to be using it. But if people do contact a group and they don't get a response within a reasonable time, they should contact us either via the Facebook page or at nationalyesregistry.scot, info at or admin.
Well, that's a bit of a problem, isn't it? If groups that are set up and they're not responding to requests, like I want to join your group and they're not doing it, that's a slight concern. But hopefully we can get them motivated to, the group admins to get the finger out and
absolutely,
get responding to these things. Yeah. So we're waiting for version 2 to come out. You can get version 1.3 via your website, nationalyesregistry.scot. About soon enough. How long's a piece of string? You know, I know what it's like, the little fiddly bits at the end to finish it off.
I tell you, if it hadn't been for the gathering, it would be much further away.
Right.
We saw a version of it last night, and we were actually showing a version of it today, running live. So it is very close to getting completed. Right. There's just a few things that the coder has to work out and then sort it, and then it'll be there.
So what are you doing tonight? What are you doing after this?
Well, we're just going to pack up, and there's loads of biscuits left, so I'm going to have a few.
We'll have a biscuit pig out.
Well, I don't drink, so everybody's going to the bar, but I'm not a drinker.
Well, I'm thankfully Geordie over there and Fiona have been packing up while we've been chatting. See you later, Dave. Right, I better go and help them out.
So thanks everybody for tuning in and seeing what's happening. And if you didn't make it this time, then maybe you'll make it the next time. We'll have another one sometime.
Brilliant, good to hear that. Okay, folks, we're going to have to say goodbye now. So bye-bye. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, folks, see you again, another live stream. I've got a crowdfunder. You can find it via independencelive.net or follow us on Twitter. We're on Facebook, and we'll be tweeting out, etc., etc. I think we were 59% last time I looked. Hopefully we can take it to over 60 by the time I finish tonight. So take care, goodbye, and see you again.
Goodbye.
Oh, there's Joy, come in. There's Geordie, that was Geordie. There's Fiona. Yay! You put the camera up. All right, folks, see you later.